Deputy President. And without making light of the contribution of the previous speaker, I too want to talk about a group of mammals, or mammalias as a scientific term, that are under threat of extinction, and that would be the cane farmers of my home state of Queensland. Mr Acting Deputy President, it's a matter now of public record that there is significant changes being proposed within the sugar industry to do with the marketing arrangements that have been in place over the last 100 years. Now, I will approach my contribution in this speech very carefully, acknowledging that we currently have a live Senate inquiry into the question, and I will confine my references to only matters that have been taken in public evidence in hearings that we conducted recently in northern New South Wales, Mackay and Townsville. With respect to those hearings, to bring to the attention of my fellow senators about the depth of the anxiety in this, with respect to this issue, I'd indicate that some very seasoned senators who sat on the inquiry on a number of those days indicated that they'd never seen crowds the size of the crowds that attended the public hearings. In Mackay, there were in excess of 200 small family-owned farmers attending, and in Townsville the number swelled to some reported 350. And these farmers were very, very engaged in the process and provided me, as a member attendee at the committee, a further opportunity to speak with them, as I have done over the last 12 months, about this most vexed issue. Mr Acting Deputy President, it was recognised in the very early stages of the development of the sugar industry here in Australia, a national industry which just happens to be largely confined to my home state of interest. The development of the industry suffered in the beginning because of a perception that the millers, the ones who processed the cane, had an unfair advantage on the growers of sugar cane. And as a result, there was a Royal Commission in, I think it was 1912, but certainly a bit over 100 years ago, that examined this very important issue. And I would say whilst I would say, Acting Deputy President, that whilst life moves on and oftentimes legislation changes to keep pace with the issues of modern life, I would say that the issue at the heart of this in the sugar industry has not changed. For those who might not be conversant with the production of sugar, it is a crop that is, when propagated, has almost a 5-year economic cycle. So this brings to bear that when a farmer makes a decision, their commitment in terms of amortising the cost of production and the yield that they might receive, the net yield, is actually amortised over a 5-year period. It is a crop that is harvested within a very tight time frame at a particular time of the year, and farmers have only 11.5 to 12 weeks to harvest the crop and get it to the processors, save it starts to lose sugar content and can't be harvested after a particular time. But it's at the point of harvest that the real challenge occurs. Harvested cane, I should say, is a very perishable commodity, unlike any other soft commodity that we produce here in Australia, where it has a life then in terms of it being able to yield its content measured in hours, not days, not weeks, measured in hours. It's not a commodity that can be stored, and it has very limited options with respect to the transportation of it from the point of production to the point of processing it. And in fact, for anyone that's driven through sugar country, you'll remember the image of these thousands, tens of thousands actually, of kilometres of very, very light rail owned by the mill, very light carriages, open cane carriages where the product is put in. And if one were to plonk themselves on top of a load of cane to take that little light rail journey, you would arrive only at one place. That is your mill. In modern times, even if there were a mill close by, and there is at least one geographic arrangement in Queensland where they do have an option between mills, and it's interesting that recently cane growers exercised that option as a result of this issue in the industry. You may well arrive at another mill that's owned by the same miller. So we're talking about the market power of millers. The Royal Commission decided that to offset the power of millers, they would invest what is described as a grower's economic interest in the product that they produce. So we're not talking about ownership and equity, we're talking about an economic interest, which has allowed the cane growers to have input into the marketing arrangements for 2/3 of the yield of the crop that they deliver to their local mills. So in effect, they hand a stick of cane, and have done now for well over 100 years. They hand a stick of cane to the miller, and that's the miller's reward for processing their cane, and 2/3 of the output that comes from the process remains economically, at least its fortunes in life, in the hands of the grower, producer. They, a long time ago, decided to create what I refer to as an artificial single desk, currently Queensland Sugar Limited, which is owned, good afternoon Senator, which is owned between the millers and the growers, meaning that they join as an industry and they rise and fall on the decisions taken within the marketing environment. The industry was deregulated, and I think the issue that presents at the moment was an unintended consequence of deregulation. I'm not an advocate of re-regulation. I think that there's only one policy worse than deregulation, that's re-regulation. But in this particular instance, we have an anomaly now where a number of very powerful millers are wanting to take the economic interest of the grower. They're wanting to extinguish the choice of the grower being able to decide who will market their cane and on what terms, or their sugar, should I say, the extract, and on what terms. These are foreign-owned companies, and I'm not against foreign ownership. I'm not against foreign ownership, but I am against any corporate ownership within the agricultural processing sector that can make decisions that will impact on growers, indeed impact right across the industry, where the industry is not taken into account. Now, the hallways here at Parliament House are full of lobbyists from the millers, going door to door trying to convince some of us that the best way to do this is to leave the market commercial arrangements to sort themselves out. Well, when you've only got one buyer of your commodity, that is not a free market. Where you don't have market tension, where you don't have tension within the market.
Point of Senator O'Sullivan. Sorry, Senator Heffernan.
I just want to make it sure they haven't been to my door.
Sorry,
Senator.
Point of order, Senator Heffernan.
And they won't be coming because they're global
predators. There is no point of order. Senator O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President. I think they'd know better than to come to your door, Senator Heffernan. But the fact of the matter remains that, as a parliament, we have an obligation, in this case, to 4,500 small family farms, corporate family farms, who just happen to be in Queensland, to all of the communities that rely significantly in relation to the outcome of this inquiry. The economies, not only of an interest to the national economy, but to the economies of hundreds of small communities and districts in my state. and I urge all fellow senators to keep a close eye on the process of the inquiry, have input, and I am certain, Mr Acting Deputy President, that common sense will prevail and we will find a way to protect the interests of these farmers as we ought.